Hey everyone, Julian here, and today I'm going to show you how to make these lo-fi house synths. So you can get the presets as well as the MIDI from this video in the description for free. All you gotta do is just click that link right at the top of the description, and you will be able to get it. Yeah. So let's dive in. So the first layer here is this lead, which sounds like this. There we go. Wrong octave there. But yeah, so pretty simple. Basically, the way I made this is it's just a little bit of FM synthesis and then just some cool effects on top of that. So the first oscillator here is just the basic shapes. The second one is basic shapes as well. And we're just on the sine wave, so pretty straightforward. If you know anything about FM synthesis, you know a sine wave is definitely a pretty important wave to play around with. So what I did is I have a little bit of FM from B here. I set it like this. And you can see the envelope, I'm using envelope 1. So this is something I do want to talk about really quick, and you'll see it through these other patches as well. But when you're doing little modulations like this, you want to use envelope 1. And the reason for that is because envelope 1 is also going to be routed to your volume by default. And what that means is basically you're going to have a lot cleaner modulation. When you start getting, especially with more complex patches like this is pretty simple, but when you start getting really deep with like a lot of modulation, you sort of want to like eliminate as many variables as possible that could cause it to sound kind of messy or like out of control or just sort of hard to work with. And definitely a big part of that would be using one envelope because again, it'll just be modulated by one thing and thus you'll have a cleaner sound. So yeah, it's a little bit of FM, pretty simple there. And then I have these effects. So I have a chorus, which I'll show you. It's just kind of giving it that more like watery, kind of like deeper sound. And then just have some reverb and then a little bit of EQ to cut out the low end. So pretty simple there. The next thing I'll show you is this bass, which sounds like this. And yeah, this is just a pretty simple kind of lo-fi bass line sound. Like I like to use this kind of sound in tracks like this where they're a little bit softer if you listen. Obviously, this is definitely a very smooth, kind of like soft, groove. So you don't want like a really hard-hitting, crazy bass. So something chill like this just kind of sits in there nicely. So the way I made this is it's just also a sine wave, just like that lead. It's one sine wave, and then I have the sub. And the sub is doing the direct out, so it's just going directly out of the synth without going through all the effects or filters or anything like that. And yeah, pretty simple there, just the basic shapes. Now this one really happens with the effects, and more importantly, this distortion. So this distortion is on the linear fold setting, and you can hear if I turn it off. That's what's giving it that like higher harmonic content and the sort of like, low mid sort of bump that it has that makes it sound kind of distorted. And like I was saying, like a little bit more just sort of bumpy. And then after this distortion, I just have a little bit of a low-pass filter here with the envelope on it. Again, we're just using envelope 1. Just like I was saying, I like to just use one envelope or two envelopes even. But yeah, so that's just controlling the cutoff on that filter. And the last sound we have is this chord, which sounds like this. So pretty simple to make this sound as well. It is, again, just a little bit of FM synthesis going on. I actually used this basic MDC wavetable for this one on oscillator A. It just kind of sounded cool. It had a little bit more harmonic content. You can see compared to the sine wave, there's like that little weird thing there. I think that's contributing to it a little bit. And yeah, so the way I made this is just a little bit of FM. It's being FM'd by B, which is turned up in octaves, so you get kind of like a little higher pitched kind of FM sound as opposed to just keeping that octave on 0. It sounds more like a sine wave now, and like when you keep it on 0, it tends to sound a little bit more like a saw wave, which is interesting. And then I have the FM from B being controlled by envelope 1, again, also the amplitude envelope. I have that going through this filter because if you listen, that was a little bit too kind of like glassy and like it just had a little bit too much high harmonic content, so cut that out a little bit with a low pass filter. After that, we have it going into a chorus, which you can hear. It's just giving it, just like with the lead, that kind of like more watery, spacey kind of sound. And then I just had that going into a reverb. So pretty straightforward there. So like I said, really main things here are just to keep in mind, like, you want to try and use, again, keep it clean with the envelopes. Just use one envelope to modulate a lot of things, or two if you really need it. And then, like, yeah, just kind of the stuff about, working with the sounds and trying to give them a little bit more of an interesting feel, like how I gave the lead that chorus and how I gave the chord the chorus as well. It's just going to give it that much more, like, oomph and make it a little bit more interesting to the listener. And yeah, just a little bit cooler to listen to. So that's going to be it for today, guys. Make sure to grab these presets in the description. Like I said, they're completely free, and you also get the MIDI from this video. While you're on it, make sure to like this video, as well as subscribe, and check out my social media in the description below. And I will see you guys again tomorrow with another tutorial.